and welcome to Beams, Screams, and Dreams, the only show where the viewer gets to tell their truth. I'm your host, Joshua Wiggin, joined as always by my co host and wife, Ashley Wiggin. Tonight, we shift focus a little bit from those who have been unwilling participants in their experiences with the otherworldly to those who actively go out and pursue such experiences. With us tonight are both a paranormal investigator and a scuba diving cryptozoologist to give us a glimpse into the world of the hunters. Stay tuned. Here we go.
You're good.
Get recording here. Our first guest tonight is a paranormal investigator and host of the show Huntaphobia, Bryan-jon Laverty. Welcome to Beam, Screams, and Dreams. How are you?
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
I think you're going to be our very first Canadian guest on the show, which is great for us.
That's cool.
Yeah, we're down in Colorado, as some viewers may know, but I think it's very interesting to have a Canadian guest because so many of the sites that we'll see on any ghost hunting shows or most paranormal videos are
largely American.
Yeah, they're American centric, and everybody knows the familiar ones. It's going to be the Sally House. It's going to be, a handful,
New Orleans French Quarter.
New Orleans French Quarter, and a couple different sites. And I think that you're bringing a really fresh take to, the paranormal investigations in general, because it's all things that we have never seen before.
That's right. And most are familiar with.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was actually thinking about this the other day, actually. There is quite a few paranormal investigators in Canada, but you got to keep in mind that Canada hasn't been around as long as the States has. Sure. Like, how old is the States? Like, hundreds of years old? I'm not exactly sure on
right,
that.
Yeah.
But Canada is like literally... How much? Sorry?
230, but 200...
Yeah.
20. Yeah. This is bad. 218. 1776.
76.
So
yeah.
200.
Well, that's the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah,
so we're around for longer than that. So
America's always been here. We just came and stole it all.
The natives were here first. So
well, Canada, I think, has only been around for about 150 years.
Right.
So we don't have nearly as much history as the Americans do, but there are quite a few investigators in Canada. I've hooked up with a couple. I don't know if you know her. It's Amy Stonepath Paranormal. We've been going out a lot and doing different places. I'm hooking up with another individual. He hasn't released any videos yet, but his name is Brandon, and he's from OMH, which is Ontario's most haunted. So there are quite a few of us around, but video-wise or YouTube-wise, I don't think there's a lot. I don't think there's that. So it's definitely been an interesting ride up to this point so far. I've been to a number of places, and in actual fact, during the time that these videos have been coming out, I've been filming other videos. So I got about 15 sitting on the shelf right now.
Oh, that's great. Editing really is half the battle, man.
Yeah.
trying to get everything straight.
I don't do editing.
He does it all.
That's a struggle that I've been going through. But so what brought you into the world of the paranormal? How did you get started? And when did the idea of Huntaphobia come to you?
Well, I think it really started when I was around 15 years old, because I had my first experience when I was 15. Long story short, and I'm sorry, I'm a little bit of a chatterbox. So
no problem.
But long story short, I had a good friend. His grandmother passed away probably 2 or 3 weeks before I went to his place. We were actually sitting in his bedroom, and he was talking to me about his grandmother passing away. And then all of a sudden, and it was the craziest thing, and this was my very, very first experience with the paranormal, I actually felt a woman we were thinking it was a woman, but actually felt somebody sit beside me on the bed and lean her head on my shoulder.
You felt the impression and the weight.
Yeah, and actually, my buddy was standing back, and he can actually see the impression in the bed right beside me.
How did you guys react to that?
You know what? It's funny because I didn't react badly. I wasn't scared. I wasn't anything. It was calming.
Oh,
It
wow.
felt very calming. It felt very like it was a woman comforting me. And it was just the craziest thing. And then over the number of years, I had several other crazy experiences. And how I got into it was kind of funny because about 5 years ago, when it was really popular or getting popular on YouTube, I was thinking about putting a group together to get it started, because I wanted to do it because I've been itching to do it for so many years. And I got a bunch of guys together, and we were planning, and we were getting ready to do it, and then all of a sudden, boom, it just fell apart, and it never happened. So it was funny because when COVID hit back in what was it, March or April?
When it got locked down was March, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it now because nobody's really doing anything right now.
Right.
So my son, who's been on a few of my investigations with me.
That's Junior, right?
Mason.
Okay, yeah.
Mason, yeah. Antonio, who's with me, he's actually from Colorado.
Oh, wow, cool.
He moved back to Colorado back in August, actually.
Okay.
He was here on a student visa, and that's why he was here. So I happened to talk to my son, and he goes, well, my good friend, he's an editor, and he'll probably edit and film for you. So I go, great. So that happened. And then I figured, okay, well, I don't really know anybody around here that does it. So I put an ad out for anybody who wants to be an investigator or wants to come out with me and investigate. So I had, believe it or not, I had about 150 people.
Oh man, that's quite the response, and that's there in Ontario, right?
Yeah, it's Ontario. I live in Toronto, actually.
Okay.
So I really got talking to this one individual. He was very keen on doing it, and he wanted to do it. So finally, I said, okay, I'll meet him. We met, and we just clicked. We just clicked right away, and that was Antonio, or Junior, as I called him.
Right.
So that's why I got started. It was in the middle of COVID because nobody was really doing anything anyway. So I figured it was the perfect time to do it.
And what better way to social distance than walking around in the middle of the night?
Yeah, true.
Exactly.
I've seen a good handful of your videos. You guys are out pretty late with these investigations too.
Yes.
So whenever you guys started and got together, did either one of you have any equipment or ideas of what to do? Or were you just kind of like, all right, now we're going to do this together. Let's just wing it.
No, I planned it. I planned it right out before we even got started. I wanted to have the editor. I wanted to have the group that was going to be involved. And I got all my equipment, like my camera and everything like that. I wanted it all planned because I wanted to do this professional. I didn't want to be some unprofessional looking individual while I was on film. Now, I will say when I first started filming, I wasn't the best at filming. Which is funny because I don't want to say real life, but I'm also an actor.
Oh, awesome.
So I was a little worried that if people found out that, well, they're going to find out now, but a lot of people know that I'm an actor. I was a little worried about being an actor and doing the investigations and people thinking that I was going to be faking this stuff because I am an actor, which I was a little bit concerned about. But after that, I sat down with everybody that was involved and they said, okay, let's do it. And our first place we had set and planned and ready. We planned it all out. I wanted to do everything before I even started. I have it planned out because I'm big on that. I'm big on planning. So, and so was my editor at that time. He wanted to have everything organized and ready to go. So when we got there, we knew what we were going to be doing. So that's how it started.
Right. Well,
that's how
with something like this, you're not taking multiple takes, you know, that's all off the cuff and everything has to be right there. So you kind of want it in sequence. I mean, especially I've heard you guys do a lot of EVP recordings and things like that. all that stuff that you're gonna have to, then edit back into the video later, and make sure the timestamps add up to so that the responses are there for the questions.
Well, I'll tell you how we were doing it, me and my editor, if I can just tell you briefly. How we were doing it is he was putting the film together, and then he would send it to me, and I would go through the film, and it would take me sometimes 4, 5, 6 hours on listening to every single noise, every single thing that happened. So once I did that, I wrote it all down on my phone, and then I would email it back to him, and he would go through it. The problem I was having with, unfortunately, the first editor, he was only putting in 30 to 40% of what I actually wrote down on my phone.
Sure.
So if you were watching the first videos, there was like 60% more than actually what was put on the video.
Wow.
Yeah, we actually did listen to a couple, and you can definitely hear a lot more responses. Kind of they were garbled, but some of the ones that were more clear had subtitles. Some of them, didn't really have anything on there. But some we were listening to, and we're like, you can hear something there.
Yeah.
Almost sometimes we were asking questions.
We're like,
what's your name? And you could
part?
kind of hear a name, but it didn't really specifically state what you guys had interpreted as the name, which I thought was interesting. So for those readings and the equipment that you use, what kind of devices do you use to pick up these EVPs? Is this more of a spirit box sort of device, or?
Well, at the beginning, I was using the K2, and I was using a voice recorder, and I was also using the, as you guys are, I'm sure, well aware, the Necrophonic app.
Sure.
So I was definitely using those. I found the K2 really, really interesting at the beginning because it would light off on certain things, but then I discovered the K2 was going off on the phone because when your phone is, let's say, connected to Wi-Fi or it's updating inside your phone, it would spark off the K2. So I was trying to stay away from the K2 a lot because I just found that a lot of times you were getting misreadings. And so I kind of stuck with the voice recorder and the Necrophonic app. But on my camera, I have a microphone that picks up the slightest sound. And I really tried to stick with more the camera and the mic and the Necrophonic out of anything that I had. But now I've gotten myself into the SB7 now, and that's going to be coming out on future videos. I really like the SB7. Unfortunately, sometimes the SB7 to me also, for example, one of the places I was investigating, I picked up the radio. Now, the funny thing is I started dancing because it was a good song. But
you get Funky Town coming on, you just can't stop, right?
Great song, but we can't put that in the video, unfortunately. So, I was a little worried about the Necrophonic app, to be honest, because it is an app. But I noticed that a lot more investigators are using it now. And the reason why I kind of liked it after a while, because there was a specific investigation that I did. And I said, you know what, I'm going to ask the weirdest question and see what kind of response I get. So I asked, what's your favorite color? It said blue. Okay, well, if that doesn't tell you that the app is a little bit legitimate, I don't know what will, but again, I find that devices can be a little bit tricky.
Right.
If I'm catching an EVP off the mic, there's no tricking that at all.
Exactly.
Right.
Going to the Necrophonic, like you were saying, getting something like the color blue as a response to a question is pretty profound, because I have seen some reviews looking into Necrophonic. It's overwhelmingly positive, but there are those that are saying, oh, it's a bunch of pre-recorded sounds. Have you ever heard the same thing twice? Do you think there's any validity to claims like that, where it's just a bunch of pre-recorded nonsense?
Okay, well, I'll tell you this, the sawmill. I've done a lot of investigations, and I've never heard in one investigation it say leave almost, well, it said it 27 times.
Right.
Yeah. That was just like, you want us to leave? Leave.
Yeah,
Leave.
it was either leave, go, or get out. And like I said, I've used this quite a bit, and I've never, ever heard that before. And again, there's times where I've asked the oddest question. Now, it might not be on film. We might edit it out. But again, going back to that one I told you earlier, it's saying blue. How is that possible?
Right.
How is that possible? I asked it to say Brian. Why does it say Brian?
Yeah.
Whenever you have these experiences like that, and obviously, you know, it's telling you to leave, it's not happy you're there. Do you, as a person who's sensitive to the veil, I guess, or the thin veil, do you feel that presence whenever you hear things like that?
Well, I'll tell you, almost on every investigation that I've gone on, I know even before I get to the location, one, I'm going to get something captured. I'm going to capture something. And two, I know it's either going to be bad experience, meaning that there's going to be something that's a bad energy there, or it's going to be a good energy. I know it even before I get to the location. The sawmill that was put up last week, I knew right away, even before I left the hotel, that I knew something bad was going to happen. Not necessarily bad in the way that, you know, we're going to get hurt or something like that. I just know there's going to be some negative energy there. And Patty, the medium that's on the show right now for the second season, she even said the same thing when we left the hotel. She goes, I do not have a good feeling about this at all.
Yeah.
We both really like Patty, by the way.
Yeah.
Patty's got a fun attitude.
Yeah.
And she's very refreshing to watch in there. I like when she's just outright. She's like, I'm scared. We need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I love her straightforward nature.
Yeah, you know what? I tell Patty that Patty has no filter whatsoever. She tells you how it is. And there's a lot of stuff, again, on camera that we edit out because Patty's like, not that she's out of control, it's just like every second, third, or fourth word can be a swear word. We don't have a problem with it all. But sometimes I say, Patty, you got to calm down the language a little bit. Yeah, it's adult, but let's not make it XXX adult. You know,
right.
So Patty is very refreshing, and Patty's very, very good at what she does. And she considers herself an evidential medium. So that's how she likes to say that's the kind of medium she is. And we do have an episode coming out soon that she was spot on.
Awesome.
And it was incredible. It was incredible. That video is coming on down the road. It's another, I guess you could say it. It's another haunted park that we went to, and she got it right on.
So, Brian, you did send us some clips.
Yes.
I think we've got one here from you from Kirby Road.
Okay.
And a little bit about Hell House. Could you give us a little bit of backstory about this clip that we're gonna show here, and a little bit about Hell House and Kirby Road?
Okay, well, Kirby Road is the very famous road in Canada where a girl died in a car accident, and supposedly she still haunts the road. So that's the big story of Kirby Road, and that's what everybody knows, at least in Toronto, and a lot of people know in Canada. So it's a very famous story. What a lot of people don't know is further down the road, there's a place called the Hell House. Now, I did mention it to you when I was emailing you that this particular location, it was actually made into a movie.
Fairly recently, right?
Yeah, fairly recently. And so a little bit of the back history of this place. Now, it's never actually really been proven, but the guy that owned this home was supposedly a member of the KKK. And
in Canada, what are they even doing up there?
And this is why I don't understand where this story came from. So it could be factual, it could be the truth. Now, the reason why I'm telling you about the girl, the famous story, because they were basically only about 1 kilometer apart. So the families knew each other. Okay.
Wow.
So, and the girl that was killed in the car accident and the little girl that was killed at the Hell House, and I'll get to that, they knew each other and they were friends. So the Hell House, this guy, for whatever reason, went crazy and killed his whole family. Now, the girl, that is the big story about the Hell House, that she's seen on the driveway, running around a tree, supposedly even sitting in the tree, and people walk on the driveway and they can see this little girl. Unfortunately, the house has been torn down. It was torn down many years ago, but the foundation is still there. But you're really not supposed to go on the property.
Right.
Because it's trespassing, right? So, and I try not to trespass on property and stuff like that. So we stood outside of the kind of on the end of the driveway, and we were pointing our camera down, but it was very, very dark. And this driveway's got to be, I would say 400 feet long, 500 feet long to the house where the house was. So this guy killed his family, and unfortunately, the sad thing is the girl that was killed also, she was down the road, or she was down the driveway, and the father went out looking for her and killed her when he found her. Wow. Why he went crazy, nobody knows. Nobody has an answer for that. I've tried to search it, try to look for police records, and nobody knows why he did what he did. Maybe it was because of the KKK, I don't know, or maybe he just went crazy. Who knows why people do certain things.
Around what time did these two incidences occur?
It's funny. I was going to look at the date earlier. I think it was in the early 80s this happened. Early 80s, late 70s that this happened. It was definitely around that time. But the clip that you're going to see, or you're going to show, there's a story. It's about 100 meters away from the Hell House driveway, okay? And the real weird thing about this particular clip that you're going to show, about 4 years ago, there was a video that I saw before we went to Kirby Road. And it was 2 girls sitting in a car. And they had their voice recorder on, and they captured a woman screaming. And that was about 3 or 4 years ago. So I figured, I told the guys, I told Antonio, I told Mason, I want to go to the underpass, because I think there's a connection with this and the house. Sure. It's too together to not say there's not a connection, because I really think there is. I'll tell you why in a minute. After I'll tell you after the clip, you show the clip. So these girls captured this voice of a woman screaming. And it was the exact same thing that we captured. Now, is that residual? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, much. The stream is long and it's loud. And if you know, obviously you guys don't know the area. There's really nothing in the area at all. There's no houses or anything like that. It's open fields everywhere. And except for the highway, that's obviously above us when we were there. So I think there really is a connection to this. What I think it is, maybe you guys might want to show the clip first, and then I'll tell you what I think the connection is.
Yeah, let's go ahead and show you guys a little clip of Huntaphobia. All right.
I want to get hit.
Who are you? Did you hear that?
So that was a pretty incredible clip there.
Absolutely.
You could clearly hear the screaming.
And the first time I saw it, whenever I opened the email and I watched that clip before we decided to put it in the show, it was just like, hold on a second. Like, you can hear it in the background. Like, you guys are looking around, just like.
Was that captured on the camera's mic, or was that the Necrophonic app? How was that, the scream captured?
That was captured on the mic.
On the mic.
Yeah, I was captured on the mic. When my editor called me and he was editing through the video, he said, "You have to listen to this." And I go, "What?" He goes, "You're not going to believe what you caught on the mic." And I go, "Okay." So he sent it to me and I went, at first I didn't hear it. I was too busy listening to the Necrophonic app. And then he goes, "No, listen to the background." And I went, "Oh my God, you got to be kidding." That is the exact same noise or yell that those girls captured 4 years earlier.
Yeah.
And the reason why I think there's a connection where the underpass is and where the actual house is, because the wife was killed by this man, I strongly believe that this is the mother calling for the daughter.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah.
And it makes you wonder too, with the two vocalizations that you hear, it's two separate things. They also sound like they could be different voices as well, which is the "hear me" and the "who are you" that you hear there. And
Yeah, go ahead.
that was
Sorry.
something you got from the Necrophonic app.
Yeah, who are you is because I think I asked prior to that question. I can't recall I asked the question prior to that. I can't remember the question, but it related to "who are you?" And that was definitely off the Necrophonic app, but the "hear me" was definitely off the microphone.
We do have another clip that you sent our way that is, I mean, this one's clear as day. And this one is from the Burwash prison. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Burwash prison was Burwash prison. From my place to there, it was about a 5-hour drive.
Ooh,
And
oh, wow.
on top of that, you got to park your car, and it's another hour walk.
Wow.
Because it's out in the middle of basically nowhere. When Burwash prison was built, it was built around a small little town. It was mainly for prisoners that did minor crimes. It wasn't for somebody that killed somebody or something like that. Unfortunately, the guy that, and we talk about it in the video, who escaped from there, actually killed his mother. And so he was in that jail for temporary till he was going to be transferred somewhere else. But he escaped and with 2 other prisoners, and he came to Toronto. He was eventually caught and arrested and thrown back in jail. But he ended up going to another penitentiary where offenders or prisoners have committed more serious crimes. And so this prison's been around. I believe it closed in 1978. It's been around since the early 1900s. And the reason why it was closed was because they couldn't afford to keep it open anymore. And that's one of the main reasons why it closed. And also the town around it, people were leaving. So there was nothing around the prison anymore.
Right.
So, that prison is huge, absolutely huge prison. The guy that owns the property bought it off somebody else. So he's actually planning to put it on the ghost tours eventually down the road.
Oh, cool.
Because it has known, see, the problem is, this is where the problem is. I've seen a lot of videos where somebody goes in there and they capture absolutely nothing. And then I've only seen a select few that have captured maybe 1 or 2 things, but that night we captured a crap load of things.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And that's why I'm going back to what I said earlier. For whatever reason, spirits are intrigued by me. And I don't know why, and I can't answer it. Maybe it's because of me being a little bit of a sensitive. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But we captured a whole lot of things that night. And the one that you're going to show, we didn't hear. Oh, I heard something. I did say something on the video that what was that? I heard something whispered in my ear. And that was what you hear, what you're going to show.
Well, let's
All
go
right.
ahead and play
Check
that
it
clip
out.
right now. There we go.
Oh, yeah, that's their way down.
I just heard something whisper to me. Someone just whispered in my ear again.
So that was a great clip.
Just get out.
Just get out. I mean, you could, like you said, you can hear you say something just whispered in my ear. Then you hear, just get out. Pretty clearly there.
Yeah, and like I was saying, that there's no apps, there's no Necrophonic app, there's no K2 meter going on. We were getting ready to leave the prison because we'd been there for a couple of hours already, and it was going to be a long drive home. So we were getting ready to leave, and then all of a sudden, I heard something whisper in my ear, and then that was captured. But the funny thing is, it happened about 4 times earlier in the video also. We didn't show all the clips to that, but there was several other times that it was happening to me, that something was whispering in my ear. Now, what's funny about this, and what we tried to figure out, why was it a woman? Because this was a man's prison. It was a man's prison. It wasn't a woman's prison.
I wonder if they had women guards maybe, or nurses?
Now, do you think they would have had women guards back in the 70s and 60s?
Remember, it closed in the 78. So, yeah, that would be a really interesting job for a female to have.
Right.
Yeah. So what we were thinking was maybe because there are a lot of people that died within the town, maybe it was somebody that had a husband or a boyfriend that was in the prison.
Someone there.
She came and visited him in the prison, so she knew the prison. Maybe somebody from the town. We were baffled. Because we heard a woman several times throughout the video. So it's just one of those things where it's unexplainable, and she obviously didn't want us there.
Yeah.
Or maybe she was tired of us being there, and she just said, "You know what? Time for you guys to leave."
Yeah. I'm done answering your questions.
Overstayed your welcome there a little bit.
Yeah. Which is funny because earlier in the video on the Necrophonic app, we actually got a response saying the ghost, and I don't know if you remember that or not.
Right.
That was prevalent. That was very clear, very loud. The ghost is the one that's keeping us here.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
That was crazy. And again, it's one of those things where you go, okay, well, you know what? We're getting these responses to my questions off the Necrophonic app. So it's got to be true. It's got to be true. I believe that it's true. You know what I mean? So
yeah, there's definitely something to it. Well, Brian, we can't thank you enough for coming and hanging out with us tonight. I know we have a pretty good time zone discrepancy here between us, and we really can't thank you enough for coming on. And we thank you for your support too, and all the shout outs you've been giving us. And I mean, we look forward to all the episodes that you put out all the time too. So it's pretty great to have you on.
I had a blast. I really, really did. I really, really love you guys a lot, and I enjoy everything you do.
Thank you so much for all the kind words. Yeah.
Well, we hope to see you again soon. If you're familiar with the world of cryptid research, you may have seen some of the work of our next guest on the series Small Town Monsters. He's a scuba diver and cryptozoologist. Jeremy, welcome to Beams, Screams, and Dreams. How are you?
Good, thanks. How you guys doing?
We're doing really good, man. Glad to have you here.
Excited to talk about this. We haven't had any water cryptids yet.
No, you're definitely going to be our first dipping our toes into the water, as you would. But so how did you get into cryptozoology to begin with?
Since I can really remember, I've always gone and been intrigued by, Loch Ness Monster was how it started. My father, he actually had a bookcase, and it was like right at my eye level when I was a kid, and I used to pick out these books, and I just remember seeing pictures of, pretty much a dinosaur.
Right.
And, this was before the surgeon's photo was found out to be a hoax and stuff like that.
Sure.
And, I remember him telling me about it and stuff, and I was just fascinated that there could possibly still be dinosaurs alive. And then, Sasquatch, and, who doesn't, who's not into a monster that runs around in the woods when they're a little kid? So
right. So did your interest in Nessie bring you towards scuba diving, or is that something that came on its own?
That's just kind of came on its own. And I mean, my father, he was certified, and I've always loved the water. I've just, whether it be a pond, a lake, or the ocean, I feel like I'm in my element. And I've been there to swim since before I can remember. I don't remember learning how to swim. It's just happened, I guess. Maybe this threw me in the water. But so that led to it was actually my birthday present. I was 15 and went and got certified. And I remember I was the youngest kid in the class, and so it was just a kid, and with all these grown men and stuff, and so it was a little awkward. Especially in the locker room.
Sure, yeah.
And so that's how I got into that, and then I've just been doing it since. I love it.
So where you're from, around Massachusetts, what kind of cryptids were you growing up with that kind of piqued your interest?
Well, we got the Bridgewater Triangle
Sure.
right next to us, and the Dover Demon. When people hear Massachusetts, they think of the Dover Demon.
Definitely.
And I didn't really go and think too much about Sasquatch being in this area of the country. I Pacific Northwest, and then out to Ohio and stuff like that. But I remember when I was reading the BFRO reports, and these guys found a track, right up literally 10 minutes down the street from me. So I went and I said, "Oh, check it out." And then I started going and finding structures, and growing up in the woods, I just didn't remember seeing these things before. And so then you're coming across these weird impressions, and some of these impressions actually go and look like they have toes, stuff like that. And so I started looking for getting into the Sasquatch and stuff. But we got puckwudgies in Massachusetts. They're in the Bridgewater Triangle. Those creepy little
goblin-y guys.
Yeah, it's great you mentioned that. One of our last guests actually talked about that, and he said he's kind of the mind that even the puckwudgie, or that the Dover Demon might just be a renaming of the puckwudgie.
It could be.
Yeah,
I mean,
I thought that was a pretty interesting take there. It's, hey, you're seeing it at night, you see just glowing eyes and some weird looking little goblin thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who's to say what that is specifically?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I saw something. It wasn't out in the woods or anything. It was actually in my house.
Oh.
And the first thing that came into my head was a puckwudgie, but I think it was something else. I think it was demonic, to be honest.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, I'll get into it a little bit. I went, and like I said, I used to do a lot of paranormal stuff, and nothing ever happened to me like out doing investigations or anything. But me and my girlfriend, we moved into this apartment, and I hated it from the minute I walked through the door. Just didn't like it, and one day I was in the bedroom, and we had these big French sliding doors, and I just went and I turned around, and on the left side, peeking out, I swear it sounds crazy, but this little creature was actually grimacing at me, and it had one little claw around the door, and its face, like its skin, looked like, say you take a paper bag, right, from the supermarket, and you crumple it up and you uncrumple it. That's what its skin looked like. But it had furry little ears, and it was only there for a second, but I swear I saw it, and yeah, that was.
This was inside the apartment.
Yeah.
I think that sounds goblin-y to me. I don't know about
it does sound a little puckwudgie-ish, little furry ears and that sort of.
It was strange. I mean, And then a lot of other stuff happened at that place. I mean, pictures. My girlfriend took a picture of me one night. I was sleeping actually, and on the side of me, you can see it's like this blue light, and in the blue light, you can see almost like a gargoyle-y type head. And it has horns, but they're like little tiny like horns, like little ones that grow like that. And it actually looks like it's reaching across my chest. And yeah, so she took this picture and I was asleep, and I woke up and she showed me that, and I was psyched.
You were also working for Small Town Monsters on the trail of Champ. Can you tell us a little bit about that and tell us a little bit about Champ?
All right. Well, Champ has, been around as the Native Americans. You have the Abenaki on one side of the lake on the eastern side and the Iroquois on the western side. And they both have a name for it. So it's been around, in their culture for, thousands of years, hundreds of years at least. How I went and I got into it. I don't know why I didn't get into it before, because it's only like a couple hundred miles away, and it's America's Loch Ness.
Yeah.
But I went and I got invited to go up there.
And where is this?
Lake Champlain, in Vermont, on the eastern shore, then New York, and then it goes actually up into Quebec.
Okay.
So it's a big lake. It's like 112 miles long. It's over 400 feet deep in some spots.
So Champ's
Yeah.
probably a dual citizen, at least.
Definitely do.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a border crosser. But so yeah, I went up there and with Alexander Pedikov and Scott Martis, Will Dranginis, and we had one other person with us, but I don't want to go and talk about them.
No worries.
But anyhow, so yeah, I went and did some diving stuff, got some underwater footage, and had a good time. Went and checked out. It was my first time going up there, so it was cool getting to go and see the lake. I mean, it's amazing. It's just beautiful in itself. And yeah, and then that was that. Just
So had you known about that as a cryptid before you got the call to do that footage, or was that something that was introduced to you because of that?
no, I've known about Champ pretty much my whole life. It's everyone hears about Loch Ness and stuff like that, but there's also you got Lake Champlain, Champ, Lake Okanagan, Ogopogo, which actually there's a lot of footage and pictures coming out of Lake Okanagan.
Had you done?
I'd like to end up there one day.
Had you done any underwater filming before this?
Yeah, just messing around though, like just doing it for myself.
So what's that setup like? Full wetsuit and scuba mask. How does all that work for you?
It's a lot of gear.
Yeah.
Depending on how deep I'm going or the temperature of the water, I'll wear a wetsuit or I won't. It's you gotta put on a wetsuit. You gotta carry. I gotta carry like when I wear a wetsuit, I gotta carry about 30 pounds of weight on a belt. And then you got the BC, which is your buoyancy compensator, helps you neutralize your buoyancy. So you're not on the bottom, you're not up on top, you're, just a few feet above the bottom, like floating. And then you get your tank on that. And, you got your regs, you got your hoses all over the place, and mask, fins. And then, my camera is actually handheld. And I got it on a mount, and it has a light. It's like a tray. How you see in like on Shark Week, they got the tray with the lights and the camera.
Oh sure, yeah.
Yeah, just mine's not as high tech as that. So
Okay, yeah.
a little bit more economy.
I mean, Shark Week's practically a national holiday these days. They've got the
It
budget.
is, yeah. I love it. Especially Massachusetts, we're getting a lot of great whites up here now.
Wow.
Oh, wow,
yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, that's all I talk about all summer on the Cape is great whites, great whites, great whites.
I've seen one one time when I was on the West Coast in California. I was watching some friends hang glide, and I just saw this wave crest, and I just saw one sideways in a wave, and I was like, "This is exactly why you don't do shit like this. Look at this.
Yeah, exactly.
You crash in the water. Look at this guy. Look at like you have a school bus in here."
Oh, yeah, that's like the paragliders. They dip them, and it's like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm good off all that. I chilled on the beach while they were doing it. I was like, I'm good over here, man.
We'll catch the show.
Yeah.
when you're swimming on the surface and you can't see below you, it's creepy.
Yeah.
But when you're down under and you can kind of see what's going on, it's all right. But yeah, it's when like say I come up and I'm like 100 feet from the boat, and I gotta swim to the boat or float to the boat on my back. It's like shit. Oh, excuse my language.
You're good, man. So on that trail, on the trail of Champ there, did you guys feel like y'all found some any kind of evidence or any kind of findings that were substantial?
Well, on the second day of diving, I got in the water, and the guys on the boat, they didn't want to tell me because they didn't know how I'd react, but they said that something about 12 feet long or so, serpent-like, actually went under the boat, and they got it on the sonar, the fish finder.
Yeah.
And but they weren't able to go and get a screenshot of it or anything because it just happened so quick. And then now I'm in the water. I'm by myself. I was diving alone, which is a no-no, but oh well. And I'm swimming, and you know how when say an alligator or a turtle pushes off the bottom, it leaves a big muck trail through the water, like kind of like how an airplane leaves a contrail. It's like the same thing. And so I'm swimming, and all of a sudden I come across this big cloud of murk, and I'm like, what the hell? Did I go in a circle somehow? Thinking like, because when you're kicking your fins, that'll kick up a lot of
Thought it
sediment
was
too.
you pushing off.
Yeah, no, it wasn't me actually. I thought it might have been me.
Right.
And then I went and I checked my compass and I came up and it wasn't. And I'm like, what the hell? And so I kept on going and I came through it again and it wasn't me, but something had gone and made a big old muck trail going through the water. And
that was at least as big as
sonar,
you.
so.
And yeah, there's nothing that should be that size in the lake either.
No, this was like a big muck cloud just like swimming through. I mean, it wasn't like a little turtle pushed off the bottom or
Right. And so you've been working or are working on a documentary that will be released. That's an upcoming documentary. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, some interesting things happened on this one.
And that's also in regard to
still
Lake Champlain.
Still related to Champ.
Yep, still talking about Champ. It's a documentary is called Release to Baudette Film. It's being made by Karak St. Laurent. Really good kid. He's a pleasure to work with. So coming out in December. He got a hold of me, and him and Scott Martis were trying to go and meet up together so we could go and do some research and stuff like that. And so this was in August. So me and my brother Ryan, couldn't do a lot of this without him. He's always with me, and I figured I'd give him a shout out.
She's got a brother Ryan too. She doesn't feel there.
Really?
Yeah.
Good guys. These
He's
brother
all right.
Ryans. Mine's a good one. So we ended up picking up Karak, and we all headed up to Lake Champlain, and we were staying in a hotel and stuff. And I didn't bring any of my gear. I had a problem. Some of my stuff got stolen, unfortunately. So I just went and rented from this place up there, and when you rent stuff, you want to go and just check it out, make sure everything's working good and stuff like that. And so trying to, film and, adjust things and straps, it's kind of a pain in the ass. So I didn't bring my camera in, and I'm in there. My brother's actually with me, and he's got a cheap camera, and he's just keeping an eye on me and stuff from the surface. And all of a sudden start hearing this weird clicking. Like I thought I was in my head, like I thought I was a bubble in my ear or something. And so I came up, and my brother's pointing his ear at me, and so I came up and I'm talking to him. He's like, "Can you hear that? Can you hear that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what is it?" He's like, "I don't know." So I went and I actually took off my my scuba rig and stuff, because it makes a lot of noise, the inhale and then the exhale with all the bubbles. So
Right.
I just went, inflated it and just pushed it off, let it float around for a little while, and just doing all my snorkel and stuff. I was just floating there. And now in 2005, I believe it was, Elizabeth von Muggenthaler and the Discovery Channel, they actually went and they recorded what sounds like echolocation.
That's what I was going to
Yeah.
ask. I mean, you said that you heard a clicking. That's what I was going to ask. It sounded kind of like a dolphin echolocation sort of.
Yeah. Now they got recordings in 3 different spots back then, and there's been a lot of people who have gone and claimed to have gotten it, but it's really just like drumfish and fish farts and really. But this sounded like you were at an aquarium and there was a beluga whale on the other side of the glass clicking at you.
Yeah.
And it was subtle, like click, 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 click.
Definitely.
And, it went on for a long time. And the thing is that it started when it was getting dark out. It was starting to get late. And, when it gets dark, people go and they leave the lake, and, so the human activity goes down. And we were in a small bay, and whatever this was, it was coming from like the mouth of the bay out towards the main part of the lake. So I was thinking, in my head, it would make sense for an animal that has this ability to go and to project its echolocation into a small cove.
To see if anyone's there still, or if everyone's leaving.
Yeah, exactly. Or, corral fish in there, so it doesn't have to chase them around the big part of the lake. It's much easier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And then me and my brother, we actually started swimming out. And as we were doing so, all of a sudden, for about 5 seconds, the clicking got much more intense and more like directed, it seemed. And so we stopped. Figured we'd go and let it be and stuff. But I was planning on going back to the next day because I wanted to bring my camera in because it has good audio and good microphone. And we weren't able to make it. We were running around up the northern part of the lake. But, that was interesting because I've never heard that in any lake or the ocean before, and I've gone and looked up different types of dolphins, like river dolphins and bottlenose dolphins, orcas, to see what their echolocation kind of patterns are like. And it's not really like any of them. It's the closest one that it comes to is Liz von Muggenthaler's recordings back in 2005, I think, or whatever it was.
Wow.
And,
have with that von Muggenthaler film or recording, do you know if there had been any like marine biologists or anybody like that have tried to analyze that?
Well, Fauna Communications actually went, and they were the ones who she worked for, and they've said the closest signature that it comes to is like a beluga or a killer whale, which is interesting because there aren't supposed to be any belugas or killer whales swimming around Lake Champlain.
Anywhere close.
Right.
Yeah.
How could it even get into like such a small, or that giant of a whale getting in there? Well, while you guys were there on location for both sessions of filming, did you get a chance to talk to any local people about things maybe they have seen?
Oh yeah. Yep. I talked to one old fella. He kind of lived out in the swamp, and he said that the biggest beaver in the world lives in his backyard. in the swamp in his backyard. And, he said it with a wink. So, And,
He's like, and this is my second wife.
Third.
Oh my god. But yeah, like, you know, any of the locals there, I'm sure, you know, they're all probably familiar with all that lore and everything.
Yeah, I mean, talked to there's actually an elderly couple who run a boathouse. It's our AUER boathouse, and sister, not wife. She's seen it twice back in it was back in the 70s, I think, and she'll tell you about it, and the way she tells you, she's just full of vigor, and you know, it was a dinosaur. It looked like a dinosaur. And it's, you know, it says how one of them had a bunch of moss on it because it came out from the marshy area, because there's so much marshland around that lake. It's like 400,000 acres. And
Wow.
it'd be a good idea, you know, for something to go and hide, you know.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy for us too, and probably a lot of our viewers and listeners is, you know, we're from the South. I'm from New Orleans.
So I mean, there are
Ashley's
tons
from
of
Houston,
animals that burrow under that mud
when you think of
live
like
there.
swamp and marshland, you don't typically think of, you know,
No, you don't think of the North at all.
You don't know. You're like, oh, you're talking. Hey, so you're talking like Venice, Louisiana.
When we're like 4,500 feet below sea level or something.
Yeah. So it's cool to hear that too, you know, and kind of have that perspective as well.
Hey, there's people up there frogging and everything. It's like down in.
Oh, right on.
I've done quite a bit of frogging in my day.
Yeah.
I've been gigging all day, man. That's what we call it.
We had the Colorado cryptid. For us, we thought it was funny. We got a freshwater crawfish that was about this big that lived in our pond in our backyard. Yeah. We just tossed it in there.
A buddy caught it fishing. Was like, dude, you're from New Orleans. I caught this giant.
We're like,
crawfish.
well, we can't eat that. That's not enough. So we just put it in
our pond. But yeah, it was wild. So the release the Baudet film is that
Baudet?
The Baudet film. Release the Baudet film. When is that going to be released?
Actually, Christmas, I believe.
Okay.
Nice.
Coming out Christmas.
Yeah, and that's Carac, St. Laurent.
Carac, St. Laurent.
Yeah. And on top of these other things, or these films that you've done so far, or film and documentary, or show, have you done any research like this for yourself on anything else, or scuba diving, or cryptids, or?
Not up in Lake Champlain or anything like that, but a lot of Sasquatch research and stuff. I mean, right next to the area I live, there's a place called Monsterland, and I was given that name because of Sasquatch sightings back in the 40s.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and that's a couple guys. They found a couple prints out there, and they cast one of them, and then me and my brother went and we found one. We cast it. I could send you the pictures of that.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. We'd love to share that.
Are these full 5-toed? I've also heard 3-toed prints being found.
This one, and it was a huge mud hole, and it tried to. What I think it did, it tried to jump over it, but just didn't make it, and so its toes kind of got, you know, hit the banking. But no, you can see the toes, and definitely make out the toes, and it's pretty interesting. I mean, a lot of people. I'll send it to you.
We'd love to see it. Yeah,
definitely love to see it. And what do you have in sights for the future for your research?
More definitely gonna keep up with the Sasquatch and stuff. I was out there hiking today, and you know, I'm always, when I'm hiking, I'm pretty much squatching too. So
awesome.
And then already got stuff in the works for next year up at Lake Champlain. Hopefully gonna go up for a couple weeks and really hit it hard this year and get my butt in the water as much as I can.
Well, you'll have to reach out. We'll keep in contact because we definitely love to see some updates about Champ.
Yeah.
And
we'll include in the show notes here links for the small town monsters and anything else that you'd like to link to as well. So Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us.
Hey, no problem, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Can't wait to see what you find next.
Me too.
You have a good one.
You too. Take care, you guys.
That wraps up all the time we have here tonight. We'd like to thank our guests for joining us, and we'd also like to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in for another episode of Beams, Screams, and Dreams. If you'd like to reach out and share your story, you can contact us at beamscreamdream@gmail.com. For all the rest of our socials, you'll find the links in the description to this video or podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.